So long story short, this is a little bit about me, and I'm a big fan about anything related with leadership, especially creative leadership. And I hope that today I can talk a little bit with you about, let me use the pointer here, about the different contexts. That's the first thing I want to explore with you, the different contexts where you are operating or navigating, and based on that, choose what kind of leadership style you should use for each of these contexts. And of course, creative leadership is one of them, and it's the one that we will be focused on. And let me tell you that at some point, I will ask you to engage in a quiz, a small quiz, relating these contexts with the leadership style. So be prepared for that. And I will also ask you to bear with us because we are experimenting this for the first time. So if we face some technical problems, even though I have an amazing 3 people sitting next to me trying to solve it all. So bear with us so that we can go through it. And I hope we can have some more interaction with the quiz. While I'm going, if you have any questions or comments, whatever, please use the group chat, okay? And we are paying attention to that, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have as we go, okay? Good. So this is weird, let me tell you. I'm used to work with groups and to do a lot of games and you know, interaction and all that. And sitting here looking at your faces in your cameras and looking at that camera, it's just weird. Well, good thing for technology, I hope. So anyway, talking about the context, and I will jump to that right away. And I want you to look at this slide. And let's say that we can identify in general 4 types of contexts where we operate. Starting with the simple, this means that there is a direct link from cause to effect, meaning that you understand the context where you are operating. It's really easy to understand what are the problems, the issues, the things that you are facing, and it's almost direct, the line that you can establish from the problem you are dealing with and the solution. So that's why it's a simple context, okay? The complicated one, usually you are operating in a context that you feel you understand, that you feel you know how to operate in, but then something happens or there are some issues that you haven't been able to fix, and there is a relationship between cause and effect, but you need more data, you need more information, in order to solve that complicated situation that you are dealing with. I'm trying not to give you too much details so that you don't know right away what is the leadership style you should use, okay? So then the complex, it means that usually it's those situations that they only seem obvious whenever it's solved, okay? It's not easy to see the connection between the cause and effect until somebody comes with a brilliant solution and then everybody sees it. But before that, it's not easy at all for us to see what is this leadership style we can use and how can we solve that complex situation. And then the last one, the chaotic one. The harder we try, we cannot see any relationship between cause and effect. That's why it's chaotic. There is no consensus whatsoever about the causes, about the effects, and it's really hard to have a clear view of what is the context and the situation where we are operating, okay? Okay, so now I will share with you on the next slide 4 leadership styles. And let me tell you that each of these leadership styles is ideal for each of those 4 contexts that I've showed you before. So we have command and control, expertise or expertise-based leadership, creative leadership, and management. You might want me to give you more details about each of them. I'm not going to do that, okay? I want you now to get engaged with us in a quiz so that based on your perception and your knowledge, you try to decide which leadership style you believe is the best for each of those contexts, okay? Are you ready? All right, okay. So I don't know if you are familiar with Kahoot. So I will ask you, and now it's the time where I will need Denise to help me out here. So I want you in your computers or cell phone, whatever, for those of you that already have the application, great. For those of you that don't, please go to kahoot.it. You see that on the yellow line there, okay? So please log in, kahoot.it, and we will show you a pin, okay? Can I move on to the pin? And this is the pin that you should use to start playing the quiz, okay? Please thumbs up for the ones that are there, that I can see you on the camera to see if you are all there here with us. Yes? Okay, Nina is here. We have one player already in, good. Claire. PFG, okay, we have 3 players. Amelie, right? Eva. Mariana. All right, Mara. This is going. So we have 7 players. Duarte, Antonio. All right, we have 9 players now. Okay, we are still waiting a little bit more to see if we can get more players in. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can type on the chat, and I have Ruben and Denise pleased to help us. Okay, we have already 13 players. Now it's one of those times that if I was a TV presenter, I would be able to entertain you while we are waiting. But because I'm not, I will just, give my best looks, and I hope that's enough. Okay, 13. I'm not sure if we can start. Now I'm waiting for technical assistance. Should we start, Denise? Okay. So before we start, let me tell you that you only have a few seconds to answer. So a lot of pressure, okay? So that you know. Okay, we have 13 players, and we're going to start now, okay? So let's start with the first question. What leadership style is needed in a simple context? And choose one of these 4. Command and control, expertise-based leadership, creative leadership, or management. Okay, we will move on. I will only talk about this afterwards, okay? Because the quiz is fast, and we will go on through the 4 things first. Okay, so next one, scoreboard. So Amelie, woohoo, Amelie won this one. What leadership style is needed in a complicated context? So which one would you choose? Okay, okay, so we have a division here, okay. And Amelie, again, so you are scoring a lot. Good. Let's go for the next question. What leadership style is needed in a chaotic context? And let's see your answers now. Okay. Okay. Command and control. Very good. Let's see who got the biggest score here. Okay, that's okay. What leadership style you need in a complex situation? So you have 4 more seconds to answer. Okay, so the winner is creative leadership. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so Emily, you won this game, woohoo! And then it was Claire and then Antonio. Okay, so nobody got them all right, okay? The good news is that I'm glad you are taking this course, okay? So let's go now for our slide. I'm glad I've decided to show you or to make this quiz, because I can see that the idea of the context and the leadership style will be helpful to you, since nobody got the 4 of them right. So let me move forward here. We did the quiz, and now let's go to each of the leadership styles and the context, and now I will tell you a little bit more about it. So in a simple, for those that chose management, woohoo, you can go in, yay, I got it. For the simple one, for the simple context, what you need is management. And if we think about the world where we live in, and especially for those of you that are running enterprises, it's not at the very beginning that you go on all the management tools and skills that you need. Usually it's whenever your business is already settled and you know pretty well the environment where you are operating and things are predictable in some way. And this is when you need management tools, okay? When there is a link from cause to effect, when that's obvious, when things are predictable, when you have business as usual, then what you need as a leader, mostly management tools. I know that there are a lot of social entrepreneurs here with us today, and I know that some of you have had some classes in this field of social entrepreneurship, and you probably learned, especially with Felipe Santos, that curve where the social entrepreneur and the businesses go. When you are in that growing phase of your business, usually you are not doing new things. You are growing the things that you know and that you know really well, and that's what you are growing. And usually what you need here is management. So about your leadership style here, if you don't know anything about management, that's the time to get to know more, okay? Okay, so if you have any questions, please go to the chat and ask the questions, okay? Now, when we are navigating in a complicated context, what we need is expertise-based leadership. Usually it's when you need that expert, somebody that knows really well about a specific thing and comes to help you figure that out. In some organizations, you might have that. For instance, at Presley Ridge, in the organization where I come from before, we were working with families and we had a huge diversity of families. And at some point, we had a family that both father and mother, they were deaf. So they couldn't hear us, we couldn't communicate with them. So we needed experts in order to communicate with the family. Or we might deal with a different problem that we haven't faced before, and we do not have the expertise to deal with it. So we will need somebody that come with that expertise and then respond and solve that problem. Or somebody in your team is expert on that and use that. So as a leader here, you need to be really aware of what are the skills that you need. And if there's some problem that is complicated at this point and you are not being able to solve because you lack the skills that you need to solve that problem, this is the time to call an expert, okay? If you have it in your team, great. If you don't, just call somebody to help you figure that out. Otherwise, it might grow up to something that you might not be able to manage anymore. Then, in a chaotic situation, and think about war situations, you know, huge crisis situations, what you really need is command and control. All organizations and all companies, no matter what, if you are in business for a long time, even if you are from the third sector, if you are a social enterprise, a company, whatever, if you are in business for a long time, you might likely face crisis in your organization at some point. They might be caused internally, externally, or both. which is even more complicated. And here what you need is to be really good in command and control. I know that some of you might not be comfortable about that. So surround yourself with people that can be that person whenever it's needed. The good news is that sometimes this is the exception and not the rule. So chaotic situations, a good thing, do not happen all the time. If they are happening all the time, you might have to reconsider your own business. That's my suggestion to you, okay? Otherwise, if it's an exception, if you are that type of person that whenever you are in a crisis situation, you hide in a room and you lock yourself out and you don't want to be around other people, if you are the leader in your organization, this is something you cannot do, okay? Because usually people feel insecure, they feel unsafe, they feel that they need a strong command voice to tell them what to do, even if you don't know. Okay, sometimes it's better to clearly tell people what to do, give them orders, have people moving, and give them the sense that you are confident, and surround yourself with people that can help you run this process. Okay. Now, finally, in a complex situation, and this is where we need creative leadership. For those of you that are running enterprises, this is how you start. If you think about, usually you design an idea, you think about a new solution to an old problem or to a new problem, it doesn't matter, based on a creative process most of the time, if you think about it, okay? And that creative process can be combining things that nobody has had the idea before, or creating totally new things from scratch. Whatever the creative process is, usually this is the starting point of most of the social enterprises. Okay, is creative leadership. We don't know, oftentimes, we have a hard time understanding what are the critical ingredients that we need in order to be a creative leader. My tip to you is that it's good that you can train and exercise several styles and types of leadership in order to respond better to whatever the needs are. And you might think, okay, so this is just a slide that shows you, this is the response to the quiz you just made, okay? So simple context management, complicated expertise-based leadership, complex creative leadership, chaotic command and control, okay? I've seen leaders that are in a simple context using command and control. If you do that, you are taking the power and the competence of your staff. It's not a good thing to do. You want your staff to grow and to become even better leaders than what you are. So if you are on the command and control mode all the time, your business will fail, okay? So in management, think about all the management tools you need to run an organization, a business, whatever that is, okay? And think that over the course of your career, if you are in a leading position, it's impossible for you to know everything. None of us. We never know anything. Surround yourself with people that have the right skills for the major things that you need, and create space to call for experts, okay? Whenever you need expertise. And then about creative leadership, and I'm a big fan of that because of the entire process. This is where you have to be really good on managing teams. And I know that team management is a topic for another webinar. We will go to that, in 1 or 2 months from now, about team management. Now, there are some skills that you can use here that are based in a lot in you to start with, and then the way you work with your team. There is no creative process by yourself. That's why the team is so important here. So let me share with you a small definition about creative leadership. Let me tell you, this is just something I just need to share with you that more than a year ago, I took a creative leadership course with Think. It's an organization that actually has a great program on creative leadership. And a lot of the things that I've learned about this came from that course. And a lot of things you know that you are already doing. You just give a format that makes sense for things. So this is the definition of the things that most of the social entrepreneurs are actually doing. There is a shared ambition to improve the world through an enterprise. So you really want to create something that can be innovative and that can really make a difference. And you will never know if this will change the status quo. Only after that, and only after we see the impact, we will know that what we are creating is changing or not the way we do things and the way we live. If we change that, yes, then we are operating in disruptive innovation. We will only know afterwards, okay? So one of the things I love about this definition is that it involves both you're mission-driven, you are mission-driven, and on the other hand, you want to do something that will promote innovative thinking, okay? Something that will cause people to think differently and to address problems in a different way. That's why it can be quite disruptive, okay? So if that's what you want to do, then you have to challenge the way you perceive and you do things. And the interesting thing is that both creative and innovation are the most crucial skills for the 21st century leadership. So when we think about leadership in our century, those are two things that we actually need to include in the way we do things. And it all starts with us. This means that, and you know that from your own experience, creative leadership, it's dependent mostly on the leader, on the way you shape things and on the decisions you make, on the solutions you want to address to things. So in a great deal is depending on you, which is a huge responsibility in one hand, but on the other hand, it makes the process exciting because it means being out of your comfort zone a lot. For those of you that are afraid of that, I have some tips for you about that too, okay? So as a leader, especially as a creative leader, what do you need? The first thing, you have to be more open-minded. There is no way you can be creative if you're not open-minded. Some tips: travel. If you cannot go somewhere else, and if you make a course and if you travel, even if it is your path from home to work and come back, try to make that path as if it was the first time for a week in a row. And try to see things as you've never seen before. And you will learn a lot from things that are already familiar to you. Now, if you have a chance to travel elsewhere, especially to places that take you totally out of your comfort zone, that's even better, okay? For some of you might be nature, others might be intensive traffic, cities, whatever. For other people might be, going on public transportation to work or whatever. Whatever it can take you out of your comfort zone and give you a different experience from what you are used to, okay? Read fiction. I'm a big fan of fiction. My 15-year-old son and I, we love to watch the same type of movies and series and all that based on fiction. I'm a big fan of that because I think there's an amazing thing of learning from the people that can see things that none of us can actually see. And you see a lot of that in fiction, especially in movies, in books, all of that. So that is excellent to exercise your brain to a different level. It's excellent. There is already research that supports the idea that mindful meditation actually helps you to be more open-minded, because the step, it starts in you. So you start by opening your mind to yourself, and then this will allow you to open your mind to others and to people surround you. And this is another interesting thing. Whenever you are in a meeting and with other people discussing ideas, change the way you frame your sentences. I have a colleague at work that she always starts her sentences like, no, but, and then she keeps going. So it's really hard for her to see other perspective than her own perspective, because everything is no, but, is trying to defend her own perspective and convince others about the way she looks at things. So it will be really hard for this person to be creative, okay? Because she's stuck in her own side of things. So try to change it to yes and. Whenever you want to say no, do this, yes and then you say whatever you will want to say, okay? Now don't say yes and but, don't do that, okay? If you say yes and but, then it's the same frame, okay? The other thing I want to tell you is that we have an amazing brain that it's quite lazy. We have a lazy brain. And if we want better results, we actually need to use daily. Another tip to you that I recommend you do, mind hacking. I love this idea of mind hacking. It means that you will reverse your assumption of things. If you believe, now think about your own projects, think about the things you do and try to reverse that. And let me give you an example. Some years ago at Presley Ridge, we had a funding from Gulbenkian Foundation to start a pilot project on family preservation. And so we actually designed a project that was quite successful, that led to other things and later even to a contract with the government. But when we were designing the program, a piece of the grant was for parenting training. Our experience and the experience of all the other organizations working with this field on parenting training is that it doesn't work. Most of the parents, they do not come. We have to have a lot of food so that they come. That's a way of bringing them, but that's not what we want to do. Fathers, most time they don't come. Mostly women come, moms and grandmothers and all that. And the assumption was parents need parenting training because they are really poor in parenting. So their kids are at risk because they don't have any parenting skills. So that was the assumption. And we decided to use some mind hacking, do this assumption reversal. And the assumption reversal was parents do not need parenting training. This was the assumption reversal. Okay, so if they don't need parenting training, so what do they need? And so that made us go to the cause, to deep to the rooted of the problem. And then we've designed a program based on women, which are actually the ones that come, and it was based on self-esteem, because all the problems started there. These women, they had a low self-esteem. They did not make good choices about the partners that they were choosing. Most of them were victims of domestic violence. And we could see that this was going on and on and on for generations. And there was a cycle that we could not break. So at the basic were these wonderful women that did not believe in themselves. They had poor self-esteem, and they couldn't figure out how to do things differently, and very dependent on the male figure, even though they were the ones who were sustaining their kids and the household. So when we did this assumption reversal, we were able to see different aspects of the problem and look at things in a different way. And the other thing is, you should recognize what are your preferred patterns. whenever you are looking at the problem, how do you usually perceive things? Each of us have a pattern in the way we see things. I know that my pattern is jumping into solutions pretty fast. So I need to recognize that. I always try to say, oh, this happened because blah, blah, blah. I do this really fast, so I know this is my pattern. And I need to recognize that in order to change it, okay? So this is one of the tips that I'm giving you so that you set up your mind to be creative and to become a creative leader, okay? It starts with you. It starts with you. Let me give you another example of this. Last week, I was working with my team. We were in a brainstorming process to come up with an idea for a campaign. And you know when you get stuck, and I'm seeing Mada here on the screen, she was involved in that process as well. So we got stuck at some point, and the question I asked was, what are the things that we cannot do? What would be totally impossible? And the first thing that your brain will tell you is, don't go that way because it's impossible. So you cannot go that way. And what we did was, no, we have to go that way. So let's brainstorm about the things that we cannot do, the impossible things. And this is when we started to come up with new ideas. If you don't think about the impossible things that you can do, you will never come up with the idea of the next possible and out of the box thing. Okay, does that make sense to you? Yes? So don't be afraid of going there if you are on a role-playing or exercising mode. And it's amazing when you engage your team on this. So it's good to set up some ground rules about that. There are no's, there are no impossibles, all the ideas are great ideas, and all the things that you learn from brainstorming, okay? The other thing is, you know, the my precious kind of thing, when we fall in love with the solution or with the problem, and you get so stuck on that that you don't want to let go. And whenever you hold to your precious thing, there is no way you can be creative anymore, because you will defend yourself from any other idea that is any other external idea that you will feel as a threat. Okay? So don't feel threatened by things that weren't born from you or come from the outside or are coming from anyone else. Okay? There is such a power of embracing ideas and contributions from other people. The more diverse they are and the more different than yourself, the better. The more different patterns you might have, okay? And the more different ideas you might bring in that will help you, you know, reach a different level, okay? So if you have a precious, just make it your team precious and not just your own, okay? Whatever that is. So some tips and tools, and after this slide, I will open the room for questions that you can make, so that, and you can, if you have questions about your own leadership style, some solutions you need to come up with your team, whatever, please feel free to make them after this. Some of the things that are here I've already shared, and let me tell you that we will share the slides after this, so you don't need to worry about writing it all or taking pictures, whatever, we will send it to you. Clash and flow. This is the design thinking and brainstorming process that I was telling you about, okay? And remember the ground rules for this. And the ground rules is the word no is forbidden. So everything, any idea, no matter what, is a wonderful idea, and all contributions are valuable and precious, okay? If you need to come up with something new, don't worry about thinking about the impossible. This is why I like so much fiction and science fiction, okay? Because you can actually perceive things you've never imagined before. One of the things that I always tell my team is that if you believe that you can reach this, you will start working towards this. And if this is something that you feel it's really hard to reach, you might likely get close. Now, if this is where you think you can reach, just shoot for the stars. Don't think this, but think that. And then do you know what will happen? Instead of reaching this, you will reach this, okay? So this is my tip to you, and you can only do this if you allow yourself to think the impossible. Not by yourself, with your team, and go crazy in the process, okay? Go crazy in the process, and this is related with number 6. I think that I, with the people that I work with in my network, with my teams, I think that I became kind of famous for the fun and craziness that I bring in some way to the teams that I work with, because I truly believe that when you are being crazy in a healthy way, you set up your brain to think out of the box and to envision and imagine things that you would never get there if you don't go to that point, okay? Every time we are having fun in a healthy, crazy way, we most likely do things and create things that we never think it was possible. That's why these processes, if they are fun, then you are setting up your brain to the next level, okay? That's why the no's need to be out of the loop. You need to engage your team, and you need to accept and take anything that comes from the team, whatever it is. Don't get stuck in, oh no, this won't work because blah, 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 okay? Don't get stuck on that if you want to create new things and to perceive new things. And the good thing is that whenever we are in these creative processes, anything is possible. Everything. I mean, you can dream about anything. It's not happening yet. Usually we are inside a room thinking of whatever. So there is an endless world of possibilities, okay? As long as you set up your brain to accept that. That's why that's the first step. Vision and presence, engaging the team, especially if you are a team leader. It's wonderful to have a big vision and a clear vision that you actually try hard to share with everybody and to have everybody own it. Now, don't get lost just on that future, okay? Think about that and have a clear, never lose sight of a big and clear vision, and be on the here and now with your team, okay? Dreaming is one of the most important things that we can do in our lives. And vision is related to that, is relating with the dreaming piece. So if you feed that, if you keep that alive, and at the same time, you are working on a daily basis to reach that vision, even if it is in 100 years from now, it doesn't matter, then it's easier to get people engaged. We all love to live the dream, all of us, okay? Otherwise, it's just a routine-based work. There are people that are fine with that. I would guess that none of you are fine with that. Otherwise, you would not be in this webinar, I think. Okay, the other thing, pride and humility. No one is perfect. And whenever we engage in this type of creative processes, that means that you have to set up a room where it is safe to fail, because we will fail tremendously. So I'm seeing some people saying, yay! So I'm saying, yay, woo, all of you, yay! Why not, right? Yay! Okay, for the ones that are together in groups, it's easier to get crazy there. You see the power of the team, once again? So if you are in groups, it's much easier to get crazy there. If you are by yourself, it's like, eh. Okay, so pride and humility. No one is perfect, but a team can be. Think about your team as if that's the best team in the world. There is no possible way of a better team than the one where you are, especially because you are there to start with. Second, because it's all of you together that will make it whatever it needs to be for you to fulfill your mission, okay? So it's a work in progress, and it's a dynamic process all along. And it's dependent on each and every one of you. And as a leader, you have to be the keeper of that, the keeper of your team, and to make sure that you can continue to grow if you are together 6 months, 6 years, or 20 years, no matter what, okay? Always creating opportunities for everybody to grow. And if at some point your team is not the best one, work together so that it will be the best one again, whatever that means to you, okay? And of course, it means creating a safe place for everybody to fail. And the next time, you'll fail better, okay? Provocative and tolerant. Challenge people to get out of their comfort zones on a regular basis. Start by challenging yourself to do that, okay? If you challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone, do things you never thought you would do. Try new things, even if there is, especially things that are totally different than your work, than your daily basis, than your daily life, whatever, if that is sports, arts, culture, whatever. Okay, try different things, because this will help you get out of your comfort zone, and challenge other people to do that. Challenge your team to do that. Sometimes it means having a meeting in a different spot, or the format of the meeting. Did you ever have a meeting while walking in a trail, for instance? Walking in nature, of course, it has to be with smaller groups if you are in a meeting. Try different things, okay? Try different things. And I've mentioned already, you know, number 5 and 6, experimentation and perfection. You want to experiment as much as possible. You want to try as much as possible and create a safe room to fail. But you want perfection at the same time. In this process, what you want is to be the best doing something. Your team wants to be the best at something. That's why you need to fail tremendously in order to get there. And once you reach it, then you have to work on the next process. And there's something that is missing there, but it's connected with the last one. And this is related with celebration. It's very important to celebrate. As a team, you should always do that. Okay, you should always celebrate the accomplishments, and if you fail, you celebrate that as well. Talk with your team and talk about what did you fail, what have you learned, what can you do better and different the next time. We miss wonderful opportunities to improve what we do, and to get to the next level, because we do not process failure. And most of the best learnings come from our capability of processing failure, okay? So what happened? What can we learn from that? What are the learnings? What are the things that we will continue to do? What are the things that we have to stop doing in order to improve and to get better, okay? And celebrate the learning. If you don't failing sometimes can be a really painful process. I know that a lot of you compete, at least professionally. Some of you that were engaged in this process, in this social internship, social entrepreneurship process. I know that you competed. Some of you really like competing. Others might not like it as much. I love competing. I've been competing in sports for over 30 years, and it was where I've learned to process failure, and it was where I've learned to deal with frustration. This is something that you really need to learn, okay? And engage others, especially if you are leading a team. Not everybody knows how to process frustration. Not everybody knows how to learn big lessons from failure, and as a team leader, you should include that in the team process, okay? Start with the smallest experiments. when you are experimenting things that are not risky at all. And when you fail, start the process there of, okay, celebrating, learning from it, processing the experience. And then when a big thing happens and a big failure happens, then you know already what will be the procedure to help your team process it, okay? It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel frustrated. Remember that emotions are here to protect us, no matter what they are, even if it is fear, okay? For those of you that are risk takers, you might likely be driven by fear, okay? So if fear drives you, it's a great emotion to have because it will protect you, okay? So deal with that. Deal with your emotions, whatever they are. There is no way you can be a creative leader without being able to manage intensive emotions, not only your own, but your team emotions, to manage, you know, the flow, that it's not a line where everything goes well, everything goes straight. No, it goes like this. So you have to be really good in navigating, not only in the excitement and we are really good and doing great things, but also when things start going really wrong and not well for any of you. Okay? Now it's the time that I will want to open up for questions. I don't know if you have any. I think that's enough of me talking for almost an hour to you. So if you have any questions, please use the chat. Examples of how teams can celebrate. That's a good question, Claire. Well, it depends a lot on your team culture, okay? So be sensitive to your team culture. For some teams that might be bringing a cake and everybody eats the cake, whatever. For other teams mean going out together at night, you know, drinking some beer, whatever you call it, celebration. For other teams might mean diplomas and everybody gets a diploma that says whatever. It doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't have to involve money, okay? If you have budget for that, that's great. If you don't, be creative about it. Don't be afraid to be creative about it, okay? For other teams might mean you going to an amusement park together. You know, it can be from going to do something fun together as just a simple office celebration, whatever that is, okay? So it really depends on your team culture. If you are building the team culture, just decide with your team, what are you gonna do to celebrate? But do it, okay? I've heard and I've been on a team that this happened quite a lot. A lot of great things were happening and we kept saying, oh, we need to celebrate, and we didn't do that. And after a while, it's like you are accomplishing wonderful things, you don't celebrate, and it's like the team temperature is like going down, you know, even though you are accomplishing wonderful things. There is another question. In terms of rigor and high standards of performance, does it help to agree with each team member on objectives? How do you encourage team to have high standards and rigor? Yes, objectives are very important and you should do that, okay? And that could be short-term, medium-term, long-term objectives, or objectives that you will just set up for this meeting or for this process. Okay, I always think that if you set up several objectives that will be for a meeting, that will be really good for all of us to be on the same page, agree on that. Another question, how to motivate team members during pressure and overloaded period to handle the heavy tasks? Well, I don't know if you are familiar, this is with the situational leadership. I don't know if you are familiar with this model. If you don't, please Google it, situational leadership. The reason why I'm telling you about this is that you have a team, but a team is made of individuals. And each person might have different needs on different times. And even if the pressure is the same for everybody, you might have different needs. And situational leadership, it's a great model that will help you identify based on two things, motivation and competence of each of your team members, what should be the best leadership style you should use, okay? Because sometimes what your team members need is support or coaching, or they need clear directions on what to do, or they might need just for you to let them go and they will do anything they need to do, okay? And this is mostly based on motivation and on their competence to perform a certain task. So my suggestion is that understand each of your team members, what each of them need, create a system where you can support each of them, and then you will be able to work on the pressure together. So Maria has a question. Team culture is very important. Yes, I agree. Do we define that in advance and communicate and create the activities that help create that culture? What happens if team members go in a different direction that is not aligned with the culture we are trying to establish and live in the team and could be detrimental to the team dynamics? Yes. My perception of the culture is that this is something that the team builds. Okay, it's an active process that it's built with the people that you have on your team. Of course, you can influence your culture by having a clear mission, vision, and values. My perception of the values is not something that you write on the wall for people that come to your organization to read and to see. No. My perception of the values is that the values are what bridge us together. It's the glue that will make us feel that we are in the right place and that my own personal values are aligned with my organization values. So to me, this is the most important thing. So it starts with recruiting, okay? So when you recruit people, that has to be a match between the people you are recruiting and your organization values. And then the culture is built by the people that you have there. Of course, you can lead the process. In Girl Move Academy, we are now, I'm working together with Mara and Bia on this. We are now working on a year plan with several challenges that we want to challenge our team so that we can create a Girl Move culture that reflects who we are and who we want to be. And there is another thing, that your effort on a daily basis to live the organization culture, this is a daily basis thing. Every day you need to ask yourself if you are meeting your value standards. Okay, and if you are doing that, then you are creating the conditions so that you can build up the culture. Email, yes, of course. Let me show you my, I have my email there. Please feel free to, on the slide. Okay. I have my email address here, so if you need some, please feel free to email if you want. What other questions? I don't think we have more questions so far. We don't have more questions, so we can always. Okay, let me tell you that this was a pleasure. I hope this was helpful to you. I know that I have an easy way on starting here and going everywhere. I hope it was not too disturbing for you. It was a pleasure, especially to see your faces over there. And I hope that whatever you do, please have fun, engage your team, and never lose, you know, your vision and the great picture, and work on a daily basis to reach that. And thank you so much for your presence. Bye-bye.